I know, I know, I know. I can't consistently make videos to save my life, but what do you know? Anyway, we're moving on. I'm gonna try and get these out in a fairly consistent-ish manner from now. I've got a bit less time at work that I'm at, so I can hopefully try and bang a few more of these out. And we are reviewing the season of Leeds United here. Yeah, I mean I've done so well at this that doesn't even show the finish last season. Um, what I should do is I should go out here. It was 14th place for the Lily Whites. A lot better than a lot of people were probably expecting. A lot better than I was expecting. Not in the relegation zone. In the battle until about game week 31, 32, they started to really pull away from your teams in and around here, your Spurses, your Forests, and your Palaces. And in the end, they were fairly comfortable-ish in their survival. When they changed over to different formation, it didn't really look as if they were going to go down, but they just needed the numbers to back it up. And yeah, I will be reviewing their season right now. Let's get straight rolling into it. Actually, a really decent result for their first game of the season, a 1-0 win against Everton. And then it kind of just went to shit. Like they got absolutely pieced up by Leeds, by Arsenal. I can't. What am I on about, man? I need to pack it in. This is what happens when I don't do this on a regular basis. And then yeah, just the performances are bad. Like you're losing to Spurs. That's a really poor Spurs team. The only wins that they got were Wolves, who bit of a given there, and then West Ham, who at the time were the second worst team in the league. Yeah, and then you slide through, and it's just a load of ass. Um, start this. I remember this being the kind of they were saying, oh, if Farke doesn't beat City, Chelsea, or Liverpool, then it'll be on his head, be it. And then they started to turn it around, and I mean, look at this for a winter winner form, really, really pulling it out of the bag with some pretty difficult games in there. Beating Chelsea at home is a really good result. Drawing to Liverpool was massive. Brentford at home, they were pretty solid at home over the course of the season, I think. Slapping about Palace, good stuff. Drawing away at the Stadium a lot, again, not that bad. Drawing away at Anfield, again, not that bad. Drawing at home to United. And then, yeah, they start to win games. And this is where you start to think, okay, they've started to stop losing games and start winning games. This is a bit of a mental game. This is a bit of an anomaly. And then obviously they got pieced up again, the biannually drubbing by Arsenal. But they started to win games, man. They beat Fulham, they beat Forest, and they look comfortable in doing it. Obviously, no wins down there, but then you come over here, they're beating United, they're beating Wolves, and it's just consistent points. They were consistently getting points. They were made themselves the hard team to play against that Leeds always tend to be, and that's what pretty much got them over the line in the end. And also an FA Cup semi-final, which for a team like Leeds, to the momentum, getting a game at Wembley, a day out at Wembley is massive. I mean, they were unlucky in this game. I think Chelsea were the better team, but with this lineup, I mean, says it all really, doesn't it? But like with some of the players there, you really should have been getting at them, and this wasn't a weak team that Leeds put out in the slightest at all. Players performed a lot better than expected in this season. People like Jalen Bogle really, really impressed me with showing this. I mean, look at how on here his value skyrocketed. Like, really, really good year. Someone I did not rate during his time at Sheffield United or in his first stint round at Leeds. Um, I've been a massive, massive critic of Calvert-Lewin in my entire lifetime. I've always thought he's a shit footballer. I'll be completely honest with you. He's done his best to turn my mind around and change my mind. I don't think he's a shit footballer anymore. I don't rate him that much. I can't lie. I still don't. I know it's mad to say after the season he's had, but he has put it in my mind that there's a very decent football player in there. Maybe not to level that other people think. I think he's just a solid striker. Um, well, wait, see if it's a one-off next season, then I'll be if it's just a one-season wonder, I'll be laughing in all your faces again. Don't you worry about that. But yeah, honestly, a pretty solid season from Leeds. Rounding it off with, I mean, this game didn't matter. But you're getting a good result against Spurs, which you could have won if Kinski didn't make that save. And yeah, made themselves a really, really difficult team to beat. That work, by the way, from how have I forgotten his name? Fuck me, Daniel Farker. Oh my god. So I'm also watching the I've got the Brazil Japan game underneath I think, so I'm glancing at that. That's probably why. This is very unprofessional. But yeah, Farker did a really good job to change to the five back, really when he needed to as well, because he saved his own arse and he stopped Leeds from being sucked into that relegation battle on a mad one. I'm giving Leeds a 7 out of 10 for their performance this season. Obviously, I think they exceeded expectations by finishing in 14th. I don't think anyone thought they'd finish there. Obviously, it's boosted by the end of the season kind of form. Um, but also to be turned into the positive, like difficult team that to play against. I don't think people expected them to that based on how they were the last time they were in the Prem. Obviously, going to Ellen Road is always a difficult thing to do, no matter who you are. But I think people kind of underestimated including myself. I didn't really think they'd do very well. Kind of underestimated how challenging it would be to play against them. So yeah, it's going to be a 7. Really well done to survive relegation and building yourself a solid foundation. Moving on to transfers, and this is the first really like decent transfer window we've had out of the list. These two in particular, massive fan. I think Stack is one of the signings of the season for me. For 20 million euros for the player that they've got in for that value, I think it's a fantastic deal. Noah Okafor, I've been a big fan of this season. I think he's offered them a very much the opposite of what Calvert Lewin can bring you, in the sense that he is a very much more dynamic, much more versatile kind of forward player who can operate off of Calvert Lewin in that striker, and that's something that they did really well. Those two up top together worked fantastically for me. Okafor hit some really good form at the end of the season. I remember he started to turn it around for them. Were doing really well when the Leeds form turned around. Bijol, Bijol, Yaka is it? Yeah, if it's Yaka, then it'll be BL surely. Yeah, Yaka BL, I'll call him. Um, I'm a fan. I think he's a pretty decent player. I don't think he was anything like special. I don't think he was anything like blowing your socks off. But he was a pretty solid, pretty consistent player. Always really featured in that Leeds team, and I think he was a pretty decent signing in the end. Not a fan of this one. This hasn't gone really to plan. Sean Longstaff. Also along the same line, Born out. I mean, it's a very little fee they paid. They didn't pay that much for him, only 6 million euros for a backup player of his kind of caliber. That's not bad. Bonanotte didn't do much on his loan spell after coming in from Chelsea. And Mecha was solid in spells, offered glimpses, but nothing that really like nothing really punchy. Nothing really like massive. Um, but yeah, Goodmanson was a great signing for me. I think this is really good work. Really good on that left hand side. Again, one of the better signings this season. James Justin went under the radar for me as well. And then obviously, Dominic Calvert Lewin is, I mean, for free to pick up a player of his experience, I'm sure what he offers to that dressing room is like so valuable. Presumably scored. So, looking at the outgoings, Christensen leaving was good because he's a bit shit. Uh, Harrison needs to leave the club on a permanent deal, and they got rid of some of these players who don't really offer much. Junior Firpo, past his prime. Sam Greenwood never really gonna progress. I don't think. I think he showed some spells going back in the day, but nah, getting Joseph some good game time out of Mallorca and stuff like that. I've given them a 7, which feels a bit harsh. However, I don't think they've set themselves up very, like these people like Stack can last 4 or 5 more years before they really start to turn over in ability. Like there's nothing really future proof for this team for me. They haven't really introduced anyone that can, for longevity wise, offer much of much. Um, Obviously these are good players. I'm not saying they're bad players. I'm not saying they're bad signings. I just think you need a few younger bodies, because what you start to see is, as you go into next season, this 28 becomes 29, this 27 becomes 28, this 26 becomes 27, and then the next season, then you start to hit your 30, and then 29, and then you look at your squad and you think, okay, this squad's a bit old now. This is what Villa have had as an issue. We've got this problem at the moment, and I think Leeds are a team that should be looking to try and counteract that. And I think they've signed, possibly for me, too many players that are in the prime slash coming towards the end of their prime of their career. Um, I think the Longstaff signing was overhyped, and I don't think Perry performed very well. Darlow, as a matter of fact, was actually their best goalkeeper this season. I think these two kind of let the group down in a sense. But honestly, these are kind of nitpicks. Like it's a very, very solid transfer window. Maybe if there were a few younger bodies there, it would be bolstered up slightly. But yeah, for me, I think this is really solid work, and it is a 7 out of 10 for me on the transfer side of things. Before I start this prospects for next season segment, I just want to I find it really funny how they've listed all of the like you just look at every other player, centre back, left back, okay, play across the right hand side, play across the midfield, centre back, left mid, left wing back, right mid, right mid. It's like that's just ridiculous, man. It's really funny to look at. But yeah, going forward for next season, the one positive that I think you get from signing players that are slightly older is no one's really going to rip them out of the team. Like a player like Goodmanson, who had a very good season last season and could possibly leave the club. I think he's a lot. If he was 24, I think people would be so much more willing to go in for him. Someone like Stack, who I think out of everyone is would be the most likely to you know like they would be the most sought after of their team. That's what I'm trying to say. I think he'd be the most chased based on his performances this season. Like he's 27, so I think that will put people off in going for their players. Like, I don't think anyone will go in for Calvert Lewin. Like he's 29 after the season he's just had. Like it's been a good year, but I don't think anyone will go in for him. Um, yeah, I mean, for that reason, I think you can really build a solid foundation with those kind of players. Obviously, I don't think that I've kind of gone against what I said in the transfer bit. But I think it's different in the sense of that, if you take the transfer window in itself as a entity for how it set them up for this season, I don't think it was good in the young sense. Like I've said, for people like Wolves and West Ham, like their transfer windows, while not good because they went down, they were good to set them up in a sense for the next season. I think it's a different way to this year. I think a lot of these players will stay at this club, and then Leeds can progress from there, add to this squad, improve on a few positions, and then bring in some players that of maybe a younger age, maybe of a higher reputation to come in and go up for next season. But I don't think I can give them credit for that in the transfer window because that kind of counteracts. Well, it doesn't fully counteract the aging factor of the squad. If I look at the team as it is now, um, I would be looking at improvement. Thing is, I don't think there's one particular weak area of this squad. I think everyone's kind of similarly matched. I would go for strength in forward depth. Um, Calvert Lewin, Okafor, and Amecha is okay. Nonto is a player that I like, but isn't obviously trusted by Leeds. Pirro did really nothing this season, and Dan James is a bit of a liability. Brendan Aaronson's looked good in spells, to be fair to him. He's had good games, but I don't think you can hang your hat on Brendan Aronson as someone to come in consistently and replace like Okafor, who I think is quite a big step ahead of Brendan Aronson in terms of player quality. So I would improve in the forward depth, maybe in someone on a similar thingy to Okafor, someone versatile who can play across. You can play on the wing or you can play up front. Someone who's got that versatility and a bit of speed. Someone, I guess, similar to Nonto, but better and more reliable, and someone who you will trust to come onto the pitch. Outside of that, where else would you look to improve this squad? Um, not a lot of bodies midfield wise. They play with five. Well, they play with three across the midfield. I would maybe add another body in the midfield. You're putting a lot of weight on Tanaka, Ampadu, Longstaff, Stack, and Gruev there. I think you need another body there so you can fully rotate that midfield if you need. So you can have three backup midfielders so that if you go into a Carabao Cup game against Preston and you've got, I don't know, Chelsea away in 3 days, you don't have to risk like one or two of these players. You can fully just switch it up if you need to. I think that would be helpful. I'm giving them a 6 out of 10 for the prospects for next season. Um, I am wary with promoted teams of really of second season syndrome. Sheffield United taught me never to be like never to take it for granted the performances from last season. It's like Sunderland, for example. Obviously, I don't think they're going to get relegated, but they were done so well last year, and it's similar to how Sheffield United did. Obviously, with coefficients and different tournaments, obviously they managed to get Europa League football, but Sheffield United finished ninth and then went and finished bottom on like 15 points the next season. If either team was to do it, I would think it's Leeds. So I am a bit nervy for Leeds, to be honest, in that sense. I do think they have the ability. I don't think it will happen necessarily. I think they have the ability to maintain themselves in a lower mid-table kind of area, maybe fighting in that relegation battle until, game week 29, where they push away and they finish in that 13th place, that 14th, maybe that 15th or 16th place. I think that is better than, not being in the league, and then you can establish yourself as a consistent Premier League team and push on from there. But I think, yeah, you just worry. If you're Leeds fan, I wouldn't take being in the league for granted at all. You've got to be careful, and you've got to understand the fact that you don't know what's going to happen with the promote. I think obviously there's a strong group of promoted teams this year. I think Sunderland and Leeds, on paper anyway, are a lot stronger than what Hull and Cov, the league winners and the playoff winners. Um, yeah, kind of unknown factors them, so it's difficult to determine in from that sense. But yeah, if you're Leeds, then you can't take being in the league for granted because I mean, I'm sure Sheffield United fans thought, okay, we can go and get European football next year, and then look what happened. So yeah, but yeah, 6 out of 10 for me in that area. And here we are. Leeds are, yeah, they're really up in amongst it. In terms of their 20 out of 30 is really nothing to slouch at. That's a really solid season. 66%. That's a B minus maybe on a paper. That's a really solid effort from Leeds this year. I think honestly this is the best as Leeds fans could have asked for. I can't lie. They probably would argue it's a much better season, but I mean, obviously in a comparative sense, like come on, man. But yeah, it's a good year from Leeds. It's obviously as much I dislike to say it because I don't like Leeds, but it's something good for them to build on, and there's a foundation there for them to become a consistent Premier League team. That's all from me. I'm going to post another video that isn't going to be a review fairly soon, but I'm going to try and get daily with these reviews now. So thank you very much for watching, and thank you for bearing with me.